that Christians would be getting an exemption from all this. Why would Christians who are not responsible for Christian terror, there's no such thing, why would they be penalized for this? Why wouldn't they, again, when the patron saint state is majority Christian, why wouldn't the Christians there be getting some kind of special pass? I just don't understand that. Why punish the Christians for Islamic terror?
Because I don't think it's Islamic terror that's taking place in the first place. I think we have to disabuse ourselves of that notion that this is a battle between Muslim and Jew.
Oh man, I'm gonna send this to Liam Tough. Oh man, you didn't have me on your podcast, man. But
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen from all around the world. Today is Sunday, July the 27th, 2025, and we gathered here in South of Gaza Strip, Mosque Khan Younis, to share our concerns about the ongoing crisis in Gaza Strip. During the humanitarian crisis that Gazanist people are undergoing, food in general and flour, bread especially, is becoming luxurious and rare. It's not available for the citizens. So our mission here is to support these citizens and to help their lives to be better by giving them these bread. On behalf of those citizens and those families, we thank WAC forever for this wonderful support. It will be a reason in making the people happy. Thank you for being a reason in this effort.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Came across this amazing podcast, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in mysterious ways. Subhanallah. So, brothers and sisters, this is a podcast which I would, if you guys want to watch the full thing, you can on Tucker Carlson Network. So, Tucker Carlson is interviewing Mother Agapia, Agapia, I think that's what her name is. I mean, the way you should look, we're going to go straight to the reaction video, straight into inshallah. She looks like a Muslim woman. Here is what she has to say. She is someone that lives, if I'm not mistaken, in the occupied Palestinian territories or in the West Bank, somewhere along those lines. Look at her experience, because you've got the people like Tommy Robinson, the scumbag, dirtbag, and you've got his little friends, buddies, Liam Tough, who was going to have me on his podcast and changed his mind all of a sudden. I wonder why. He has so many Islamophobes and got one imam, and I asked him, which he invited me first and then changed his mind because of some reasons, whatever it is for that matter, but he will refuse to have me on there because he knows I would expose his friend Tommy Robinson and I will shred him into pieces, and I told him this, and that's the reason he probably cancelled. So Liam Tough, if you are really about freedom of speech, number one, get me on the show. I don't need to be on your show. I'm just challenging you to an open discussion, an open dialogue. Yes, if you are sincere, if you're not an Islamophobe, let's have a sincere discussion. But other than that, let's go to people like Tucker Carlson, who's actually sincere and want to understand what's really going on in Palestine, inshallah. Here is the video. Let's watch it for ourselves.
No.
A Christian can't.
No, without permission from Israel.
That's interesting because I mean, those Christians that you're describing, I mean, they're the descendants of the Christians.
Absolutely, yeah. They've been there from the beginning, yeah. I mean, right, Christ came as a Jew, right,
yes,
into the temple, but the people that converted and have lived there for centuries are, in fact, I think there's been studies done that on Palestinians living there now, and they are the Canaanite descendants. Yes. They're people that have been there for centuries.
But the United States is a majority Christian country that pays for a huge percentage of the Israeli economy, both through trade and direct grants and military assistance and all the rest. Israel couldn't exist without the United States. So, and it has the support of so many Christians in the United States, and I don't know if they're fully...
I mean, I don't agree with this, with Tucker Carlson, just for a little moment there. He's saying that Israel cannot exist without America's support. America is Israel. United States of Israel. Israel is United States. United States is Israel. They are owned. You guys are owned by Israel. I just want to say that, even though I applaud and appreciate what Tucker Carlson is doing, along with Candace Owens, genuine Christians. Let's carry on like Mother Agapia, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Where? I want to think they would care if they knew how the Christians are doing. And I keep reading that the Christian population in the region has declined dramatically since Israel became a state in 1948.
Right.
And I'm not quite sure why.
Well, again, I think it has to do because the whole issue is that Israel has continued to grow and think that they can dominate the Christian areas, the areas of Palestine. So they make it very difficult for anyone else to be able to live there. As simple as that.
But you would think Christians would get a special pass or dispensation because the United States is the great patron and it's a Christian country.
Exactly. This is what a lot of people think. They actually think they would get they would just get away with it. No, you wouldn't, because you need to understand, according to Zionist Jews and Judaism, you need to understand you are despised. Like in Islam is very tolerant with this matter, because in Judaism, it's full-blown decimation. You cannot have idols. In Islam, that's not the case. you can have that. Christians were protected under Muslims, so was Jews. So their crosses, their churches, their priests, people like Mother Al-Gapia here would have been protected under Islamic rule. And Salahuddin Ayyubi, Umar ibn Khattab, when they conquered Jerusalem, they demonstrated that, but under Judaic law, that is not the case. That's the reason why you can see the population decreasing. But we're going to come to that, inshallah, because very interestingly, when I go to Google and check the decline of the Christian population, it gives me another answer. I wonder who it's influenced by. Mossad? Let's carry on.
No, because, the problem you have is one with the Christian Zionists, the ones who don't recognize the Christians in the Holy Land as being fully Christian, apparently. Because why would I have a very hard time understanding why someone who calls himself a Christian and then gives money to support the building of settlements. Do you understand what that means? The settlements are in the areas of Palestine. They're taking over the land that belongs to the people of Palestine. And this has been going on, as I said, I've been there since 1996, and I've seen the continued growth of the settlement. I lived in Bethany, biblical Bethany. Beyond and over the mountain, Mount of Olives, was the convent I was in Jerusalem. And to the east of me was the settlement of Mali Adamim in 1998. It was a relatively small settlement then. And then you go down the road to Jericho. It was one lane. It's now a larger highway. And that settlement of Mali Adamim is like a huge city and has closed off the people of Bethany. We are closed off in Bethany from going to our convent in Jerusalem because of the wall that was built on Palestinian land, on Christian land. There's a Christian home for boys that the Israelis just took over and cut up to make part of the wall that's separated. So it wasn't done for security to build that wall. It was done simply to expand the borders of Israel.
Christian Zionists in America, you are literally funding Israel because you believe in this biblical prophecy, whatever it is for that matter, at the detriment of your fellow Christians. This is how deluded you guys are. Now, just quickly touching up on the population decrease in the occupied areas. This is what AI had to say. Just check this out, guys. Yeah, the Christian population in Israel and Palestine territories have been significant decline. Okay, particularly areas under the Palestinian Authority and Hamas control. So when you hear that, you're like, whoa, okay, these Islamist jihadis, these terrorists are, persecuting the Christians, which is a big fat lie. Because in history, Islam has protected Christian minorities against other Christians, while the overall number of Christians in Israel has increased. Oh my gosh. Okay, their percentage of the total population decreased due to higher growth rates of other religious groups. Factors like immigration, violence, economic hardship, and political instability contribute to this trend, especially in places like Bethlehem and Gaza. Now let's read it more. Decline in Palestinian territory. Check this out now. Significant decrease. The Christian population in areas under Palestinian Authority and Hamas control has plummeted. So you're thinking, oh my God, they're killing these innocent Christians. No, because the mother there is showing us what's really happening. Bethlehem's decline. Bethlehem, once a predominantly Christian city, has seen a drastic reduction in Christian population. Gaza shrinking Christian. We need to look at this. The Christian population in Gaza has also experienced a sharp decline, particularly after Hamas took control. Factors contributing to the decline. Check this out, guys. Yeah, immigration. Many Christians are leaving due to limited economic opportunities and ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Not conflict, genocide. Yes, which that is understandable. That's the only valid thing that's fair media bias here or affected by the Mossad. Violence and coercion. Reports of violence, religious discrimination, and coercion to convert to Islam contribute to the exodus. This is absolute bullcrap, because in Islam, it is forbidden for you to force anyone to accept Islam. Economic hardship, political instability. I wonder who is influencing this here. Let's see. Let's carry on. Let's carry on with the reaction video.
Who are those people living over there? How come there's only cars with yellow plates here? And then we were in Jericho, and I saw these green and white plates. What does that mean going on? They don't understand it, so they don't get the concept.
What does yellow license plate mean?
Yellow plate is for people who live in the state of Israel, and they can go on certain roads. All roads, and for Palestinians who have a Jerusalem ID are allowed to have a car with a yellow plate. And then Palestinians have green and white plates, and they cannot use. So over that time that I've been here, as the settlements have grown, you build the infrastructure for it. The electricity, the roads, separate roads that are used only by people that have yellow plates. As a foreigner and part of a foreign church, we were entitled to have either those, or they also have white diplomatic plates, kind of diplomatic and religious plates that are there. So there's very much an apartheid system.
Okay, let's just quickly fact check that, inshallah, guys. So let's fact check the whole driver thing. Okay, so it says, the term apartheid road or segregated roads refers to certain highways in the West Bank where Israeli vehicles with Israeli license plates are allowed to travel freely, while Palestinian vehicles with Palestinian license plates face restrictions or are prohibited. Critics argue that the system mirrors aspects of apartheid. It flipping is apartheid. What the hell are you talking about? By creating separate and unequal systems of transportation based on ethnicity or nationality. So as you can see, what she's saying is true, because she lives on the ground. But with the far right, Tommy Robinson, Liam Tough, yes, Ted Cruz, would you guys know about this? No, of course not. Yes, Liam Tuff, you don't want to know about this because you know the propaganda that your friend Tommy Robinson is saying will be destroyed and dismantled in front of your eyes by me. That's why you did not get me on your podcast. But that doesn't mean we are not going to meet. We will meet and have a nice discussion together. So, but let's carry on to the reaction video, hopefully.
I'll just be totally blunt with you. Most Americans are aware that there's a system, something like what you just described.
Right.
But the pretext for the justification for it is that there's a lot of Islamic terrorism. There are a couple intifadas, there are a lot of suicide bombings, and it's Islamic terror. And most Americans have been taught for 25 years that Islamic terror is a threat. And there's some truth in that, of course. But so we assume that Christians would be getting an exemption from all this. Why would Christians who are not responsible for Christian terror, there's no such thing.
Because Tucker Carlson, which you need to understand, in the theology of Judaism, they hate Mary. They call her an adulterer. They say that Jesus is burning in his own feces. They despise him. And if you go read the Talmud, you will really understand what they actually think about both of us. We're both Gentiles, by the way, yeah? They know, and they hate your guts more than they hate ours because of the whole idol worship cross. We believe Jesus is God. As Muslims, we don't believe. We believe God is one. A lot of Jews can come and pray in a mosque. They won't go into a church, though. However, as Muslims, we're allowed to pray in a church to our God, of course, without any, facing an idol, or for that matter. They hate your guts, my friend. That's the reason why.
Why would they be penalized for this? Why wouldn't they, again, when the patron saint state is majority Christian, why wouldn't the Christians there be getting some kind of special pass? I just don't understand that. Why punish the Christians for Islamic terror?
Because I don't think it's Islamic terror that's taking place in the first place. I think we have to disabuse ourselves of that notion that this is a battle between Muslim and Jew.
Oh man, I'm gonna send this to Liam Tuff. Oh man, you didn't have me on your podcast, man. But these are the truth. This is, if you're not Christian, I think you're an atheist. Your friend Tommy, the absolute coward, intellectual flipping midget who punches people, can't punch back. Yes, okay. This is a Christian woman. She's I think she's a nun. I don't know. Yeah, who's on the ground telling us the reality that Islam terrorism and this, that, blah, 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 blah. She is dismantling it. Yes? Listen to her carefully.
Or that, constantly you heard after October, the October event was that the Hamas. Even to this day we hear it's Hamas,
Yes.
Hamas. What is Hamas? Hamas are people who have had their homes taken from them, who, if they live in Gaza, have not been basically been in an open air prison for certainly the last 20 years going on. Even when the Israelis withdrew from Gaza, they didn't leave open borders. There was no freedom for people in Gaza to develop their economy. If I know people who wanted to try to go to school in America and...
Hold on a second. She's here defending Hamas. This. By the way, I'm just making it clear. I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm telling you now. She, a Christian mother Agapia, is defending Hamas. And she's trying to rationalize. And I'm trying to take to the far right. The far right, yes? Okay, Tom Robinson, the Liam Tuff, all the rest. Okay, these Islamophobes. They're Islamophobes. Yes, I thought Liam Tuff is not Islamophobe. He's an Islamophobe. Yes? You guys have an issue. You say you blame grooming gangs on Islam. That's got nothing to do with Islam. Migration, or most of immigration is coming from Hindu nations or Chinese or Christian nations, okay, to the UK. When it comes to the grooming issue, like for us as Islam, we deal with the root for the problem. All of those culprits, whoever they are, pedophiles, majority of them white middle-aged men that look like Tommy Robinson, with all due respect, yes, okay, he fits the criteria more. Islam will deal with it in a very harsh way. But when it comes to this grooming issue, you guys have a massive issue, and you would, if there was a law passed that every single groomer, or whoever they are, pedo, whatever for that matter, okay, should be dispersed from the country, expelled, yes, I would vote. I'll be in the front lines voting, etc. But the irony, the funny thing is this. Individuals who have committed these crimes against innocent girls, yes, you would not want to them. You would kill them. Just imagine for a second, these foreigners, whoever they are, they come to your land, kick you out your house, Liam Tuff. Tommy Robinson, kick you out your house, take your house, kill your children, bomb your children, massacre your family, yes, and then you are called a terrorist. Would you buy that? Now, I don't blame you, Liam Tuff, for not having me on your podcast because you know exactly where it would go. So that's the reason why the point is the following. UN says that they have a right to arm resistance. I'm talking about the resistance part. I'm not talking about Hamas. They have a right to arm resistance. But look at the hypocrisy. Let's carry on.
They couldn't get out of Gaza. Had a Fulbright scholarship and weren't able to leave.
I mean, couldn't get out.
Israel didn't give them permission. So what kind of freedom is that if you live in Gaza?
They couldn't even fly out?
No. And their airport had been bombed in 2000 and early on. There was an airport built soon after the Oslo Accords. But Israel has intervened many times in Gaza and little by little destroyed. When I first went there in 2002, after the second intifada started, I remember saying to my mother back home, this is genocide, even that genocide by Chinese water torture. But now we're seeing genocide on steroids.
You're American, I should say.
Yes, I'm born in America. Yeah, lived in America. And so getting back to Hamas, so also the school.
Oh my God, she's being paid by Hamas. She is Hamas. Okay, funny. Okay, yes.
I was at has 350 girls. It's in a town that's 98% Muslim. Though it has roots, I mean, it's the roots of where Bethany, where on our school grounds is a stone from the 6th century. This is where Christ met Martha at the resurrection. So we're talking about, and it's the road leading, there's still part of the road that existed when Christ walked during that time and would have seen Lazarus and Martha and Mary. Lazarus' tomb is down the road, right? And so permeated even with Palestinian Muslim culture is the sense that Christians lived here and they recognize Jesus as a prophet. So they respect him and so I'm not saying that everything is perfect. You can't have divisions between, just like even with Christians. Some Christians might think we should have allow politics to be in the church or legislate Christian morality, and others would think totally different. So you can have sort of differences of opinion, if you will, and we can all live with each other between that. So with Muslim and Christian, they can have their differences, but overall, the Palestinian culture is infused with both. There.
So you were a nun in a majority Muslim town, a Christian nun, in your habit, I assume.
And which also was to an advantage because pious Muslims are not jihadists, the ones that I know. I'm not saying other parts of the world that may be the case, but in Palestine, it's simply not the case, or Syria, or Lebanon, or Iraq. The Muslims, for the most part, are, they've all grown up together, the Christians and the Muslims, and there's a certain amount of commonality. And
oh my gosh, they've grown up together? I thought Tommy Robinson said that we should be massacring and killing them. I thought our religion, the Quran, says 121 verses, you little intellectual midget. When I confronted you and asked you 20 times, show me a single verse that says we should indiscriminately attack innocent Christians or Jews or non-Muslims. Where? The Talmud says that. Judaism says that, not Islam. Where is it? I thought so.
Respect. And so me being dressed like this was just like many of the women there, right? So they kind of respected that. There's the same sort of conservative culture. There's the same sort of idea that we're both have some same basic values of compassion for our neighbor, of taking care of our families, and trying to live. They have their form of fasting and almsgiving, and it's actually very important to them. And I think the best parts of Islam come from its development from Christian ideas that Muhammad came to know. I'm sure of that. You can sense it.
This is a very different story from the one that we're told in the American media, that Christians are imperiled by Muslims in the Middle East.
They are not imperiled by Muslims in Palestine. That is an absolute fact. And that's just simply not the case. And again, going back to my school, in our school, we had icons, which are part of the Orthodox tradition, pictures of saints, and crosses in every classroom. No problem with that. I could show you a photograph, I can't now, but of the graduates of the latest high school graduation. And, they're embracing the nuns there. They're dressed actually in a more secular way. And it all
So a lot of your students were Muslim?
All, 98%. The only Christian
your students were Muslims?
Yes, yeah. And about half the teachers during the time I was there, some Muslim, some Christian.
In a Christian school?
Yes, and actually that's all throughout Palestine. The Orthodox is relatively small. We do have schools in many of the Palestinian towns, but also Catholic schools, Lutheran schools, and most of the students are Muslims.
Huh. Bro, look at his reaction. Bro, he's mind blown. He's like, what the? Tucker Carlson's like, what? Did you see his reaction? He was like, it's like someone punched him in the face. He was like, what? He's like, we have been lied to for 25 years with the propaganda by Benjamin Netanyahu. May Allah rip him into pieces. Lied by him. Islamic Jihad, terrorist, that. And then you got Mossad, shills like Tommy Robinson. Patriots, apparently. Patriots, but they put another country before him. He was supposed to go join the IDF, yeah? He'll get liquidated, bruv. You get liquidated. I dare you to go, bruv. I dare you to go. Yes, anyways, yeah, he was supposed to go. Okay. He is bewildered. Carlson is bewildered. The guy's like, what? And now we're just going to quickly dissect. I'm going to carry on the video, and then we're going to go to, she said, the mother, Al-Gapia, she said that the crosses Muslims respect, etc. Now you might be thinking, it's just the experience, etc., whatever. Oh, no. We have evidence. We have evidence for that from our religion that we do not desecrate the cross. Let's carry on.
And the beautiful thing about where the great danger is, if the Christians continue to diminish a key part of Palestinian society, and within Israel as well, you go to Nazareth, you'll see many Catholic-run hospitals, schools. And so it's a fabric, it's a part of the whole character.
But I'm just still confused by the idea that the Christian population is declining under Israeli rule. Yeah. You would think just the opposite.
What gives them what I observed from my time in Israel and going back every year is that they do not want any Palestinians there. So the majority of Christians in Israel and Palestine are Palestinian.
Well, interesting. Isn't that bizarre? The far right say, the Christians, we Muslims persecute the Christians, etc. Well, let's do some facts, innit? Let's check. So, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, when he conquered Jerusalem, yes, if you guys remember, it says Salahuddin treated Jews and Christians in Jerusalem with a mix of tolerance and pragmatism after taking the city in 1187. While he did not massacre the Christians and the Jewish population like the Crusaders had done in the past, he did impose ransoms and restrictions, particularly on the frank Western European Christians. Yes, there's a reason why, because they were the culprits. They were the ones who were causing the fitna, and even them, he allowed them to go. Even them. But hold on a second. I thought in Islam we were supposed to massacre everybody. The Crusaders did that to the Muslims and the Jews. Yes, this whole thing of anti-Semitism, yes, and the infidel word comes from the Crusaders, my friend. It's not Islamic. It's from the Crusaders, because you guys believe, the Christians believe that the Jews killed their God. So they hated the Jews. Okay, for that matter. He allowed Christians to practice their religion and maintain their holy site, but also ensured Muslim controls the city. Well, of course, Muslims are going to control the city because they control the area. Yes? Unlike the brutal attack on Jerusalem by the Crusaders in 1099, the year 1099, Saladin's conquest was relatively restrained. He did not slaughter the population. Okay, Saladin allowed the Frankish Christians to leave the city after paying ransoms. He also restricted movement and interactions with the Muslim population. Religious tolerance. Saladin permitted Christians and the Jews to continue practicing their religions and maintain their holy sites. He even allowed Christian pilgrims to visit Jerusalem. Oh, I thought what happened? And not only that, let's go to the Treaty of Jerusalem. Let's just quickly read it. This is an actual treaty by the Muslims. This is the protection with the servants of Allah, Amir al-Mu'mineen, grant to the people of Palestine. Thus, protection is for their lives, property, church, cross, for the healthy and sick, and for all their co-religionists, in this way that their churches shall not be turned into dwelling houses, nor shall they be pulled down, nor any injury will be done to them or their enclosures, nor to their crosses, and nor will anything be deducted from their wealth. No restriction shall be made regarding their religious ceremonies. No Jew will be allowed to stay along with them. This was a request made by the Christians to the Muslim ruler. They didn't want Christians. The request by the Christians themselves to maintain a status quo, as there were no Jews allowed in Jerusalem prior to Muslim arrival. Let's carry on, man. Let's carry on.
Understand who he was. And so they follow only the law. And I think that's why you see these are people that can somehow justify allowing for the starvation and ethnic cleansing of so many people. Because think of the stories from the Gospels, where Christ heals the man with the withered hand.
Yes.
And he's looking behind him are the Pharisees. And he's grieved at their hardness of heart because he was healing, doing a work on the Sabbath day. And that was against the law. And so now these Christians of wrong belief believe that they need to rebuild the temple as part of their plan. So they believe that the current state of Israel, which has nothing to do with the biblical Israel, is needed to be built up so that then somehow they can restore and build that temple, fulfill an obligation of the law. And the price of that, they're willing to forego the compassion that Christ talked about and allow people to be starved and wiped out. And Christians in America have to understand.
Just imagine, she's basically breaking down the Christian Zionists and their justification of letting Israel commit a genocide in Gaza. Please tell me an Islamic history. Of course, there were some evil Muslims here and there, anomalies. Where has Muslim nations ever done what the Christian West and Israel has done to Muslims? Please tell me. And we are the jihadist terrorists, yeah?
That you're allowing both people who support the state of Israel, who are Jewish, and those Christians who think they're doing something in the name of Christ when it's far from the name of Christ, and it's actually causing the end of the Christian population in the Holy Land. It's going to be, the numbers have dwindled. Now we're getting to the small thousands. I just received a call the other day. Jacob's Well is in the large city of Nablus, in the center of the West Bank, which has been grievously, raids take place all the time, and it's very difficult. But what happened the other day was that a Christian-run factory. In Nablus, there's about 600 families, around 600 Christians, number of churches, and Jacob's Well, which is a very important site to us. We always go there on a pilgrimage when we can. And their factory, no warning, no permit. First, on June 26th, I believe, the Israeli army came in and confiscated some of the factory equipment. And then 2 weeks later, they came and blew up a big portion of the factory. So how are people supposed to have they gave no reason. There was no permit. They have lawyers. There has been, as far as I know, to this.
Because they hate you Christians. They hate your guts. You fund them and they hate you. They they rip the hand that feeds them. United States of Israel.
No court order, no reason. And the only thing, quickly what popped into my head, because it's a metal making factory. Okay, they must be using it to make weapons, right? These are Christians who have been there for decades, centuries, I think, even the family. And it's a well-known business, all right? And no order was given. And I almost feel a little wary about saying anything because I don't know what the repercussions will be with that family because they have no recourse. Who do they go to?
Where's Ted Cruz in all this? Ted Cruz talks about how he's a Christian. Mike Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House, talks about how he's a Christian. They talk about it a lot, actually.
I think
They have to turn a blind eye to that. Why? Because if you look at the Christian Zionists, what do they believe? The Christian Zionists support Israel primarily due to their interpretation of the biblical prophecy, which they believe mandates the return of Jewish people to the Holy Land and the establishment of the State of Israel as a precursor for the second coming of Christ. This belief system, known as the Christian Zionism, alone suggests that supporting Israel is a way to accrue personal blessings or fulfill God's will. So, biblical prophecies at the end of times. Many Christian Zionists believe that the return of Jews to Israel is a necessary step in fulfilling the biblical prophecies to return to the end of times. In a nutshell, it's to their own detriment. They're basically saying when Christ comes, he's going to slaughter the Jews and everybody else, etc. So they're like, yeah, we'll allow them to do that. You can see what's actually going on. It's very bizarre and funny.
I'm not sure that it can be done by, we have to battle AIPAC and the Christian Zionists by the Christians standing up, say, not in my name. We can't be doing this. So if they're getting money from these organizations, then Christians have to have enough concern to say, I don't want this happening in my name.
No, and to my brothers in Christ.
Right, exactly. And not only it's the real people, the living stones that are there, that keep the churches open, that keep things going, but also for our Christian legacy. You know, we're supposedly a country based on a Judeo-Christian heritage, right? But so where is that Judeo-Christian heritage when you're destroying the very foundations of it? St. Jerome translated the Bible in Bethlehem. The cells where he was at are under the Church of the Nativity. You know, the very roots of our Christian heritage are there. And we're letting it be destroyed. Not physically and physically by killing the people, but also there's a wonderful person when you talk about resistance. This all started with Hamas. So for the most part, I would say they're a resistance movement. They're simply people fighting for their people, trying to protect their land. And I don't know if we want to reach into the area of the whole problem is that it was never defined what Palestine is. You know,
again, I'm not here to defend Hamas or anyone for that matter, but any group of people that defend their people would deem as heroes, generally. Whatever it is, like for example, if you have a foreign nation, Russians or whatever, coming to the UK, and there were a group of people who stood up, they were seen as heroes, patriots, trying to defend the country. And if you look at it, Hamas is described as a terrorist organization, majority by the West. Yes, not all European countries, if I'm not mistaken. But the other side of the world, China, Russia, and other places, they're not deemed. So it's even subjective, because on what basis are you deeming them to be terrorists? Like Nelson Mandela was deemed to be a terrorist when they were fighting apartheid in South Africa. So there you go. I mean, that's her opinion. Let's carry on.
You say it's more hostile. You see these videos of Christians, priests with crucifixes around their necks getting spit on in Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Are those real?
Yes. And I mean, that's happened before, you know, even from the first days that I was there, there'd be occasionally something like that. And occasionally there were graffiti put on walls and sprayed on Jesus a monkey. 2013. On the church. Yeah, that's right. In Tabka, where the multiplication of the loaves and the fish, a Catholic community, graffiti there, talking about getting rid of the idols or something like that, some sort of Old Testament statement, and burning a statue of the Virgin Mary in parts of the monastery there.
Well, you know, in a nutshell, that shows this is what they do. A Zionist, a true Zionist, when he sees Tommy Robinson, he has to spit on him. That's what they believe, because they believe you're idol worshippers. Yes? So you defend them, but they should spit on you. You can't make stuff up, bro. That's what I say. Some of you Christians know talk, because Allah in the Quran says that some of the Christians are not the same. Some of them are good people. Yes? They're not the same. Yeah. And in their religion is what? That they have to spit on. They see you as idol worshippers.
You know anyone who's been spit on? Any Christians have been spit on?
Me.
You've been spit on?
Of course, yeah.
What do you mean, of course? That's disgusting.
Yeah, well, but that's the least of it. That's the least of it.
But again, I'm saying this as a perspective, from the perspective of someone who lives in a majority Christian country that's paying for all of this. Right. So that's kind of
That's the mentality. I'll tell you a story. My father is a priest, right? A Greek Orthodox, and he was wearing a choleric suit. He visited one time, and we visited the town of Taiba. And there was a checkpoint before you enter into the town.
Can you give us perspective? Where is Taiba?
Taiba is biblical Ephraim. It's when Christ, after he raised Lazarus from the dead, he went about 10 miles to the northeast of Jerusalem, Bethany area, to prepare himself before he would come back to Jerusalem for his crucifixion. Ephraim is known as the town of compassion, of solace. Even in the time of Saladin, it was called Ephraim. It's now called Taiba, which means the good or the beautiful. So it sort of had that reputation. So he went there to prepare himself for his crucifixion. 20 miles, not even 20 miles from Jerusalem.
Interesting. So with your father, who was
my dad,
a pretty
priest,
famous,
an American priest, dressed as a priest, and my mom was there too. So we were going to drive it. So there's a checkpoint sort of at the entrance of the town, and then you have many olive groves. Which, by the way, I was just telling someone the other day, they have about 8,000 acres of land, let's say, and over a quarter of it has been confiscated either by settlers and the army allowing them to take their olive groves. And they have no recourse. There's nothing.
Who owns the land?
The Palestinian Christian families.
And it's been confiscated from Christian families.
Well, confiscate. What do you do when they have guns and you don't?
I don't know. You call your patron church in the West and you say, raise a stink, call Ted Cruz.
Right. Settlers burned the brush, and also there's a cemetery right next to it, burned that area.
They burned the cemetery?
Everything's stone there, so nothing burns, but they burned the area around there. So you have grass and brush, that was burned. Yeah. And not only that.
Just imagine this is what the Christians are going through. Imagine this is what the Christians are going through. He's bewildered. He's absolutely mind-boggled. Like I said, be a good goyim, Tommy. Be a good goyim, my friend.
I was shocked when I saw how much they've infiltrated. It's one thing, the entrance of town, and you've taken the open land, the olive groves. They have Bedouins, in that town, there's a beer factory, a distillery, a hotel, and Bedouins have been forced off their land around there and are now living with allowance of the Christians to be there because they have no place else to go and no one to protect them. So Ambassador Huckabee comes and he's very concerned because of an attack on a church. And also that same week, a Palestinian American had been shot dead by settlers or beaten to death. Saif Musalat, 20 miles, not even 20, a couple miles away. And he was going to address that as a Palestinian American to see that Israel would investigate. Nobody's been arrested or done.
He's an American citizen?
Yes, he's from Florida. He's often, just like I'm
American
Greek
citizen was beaten to death?
by settlers.
And no one was arrested?
No, never happens. Down in...
Yes, not only that, brothers and sisters, let me just show you guys just quickly another American Ayad, a father of 5 and former Chicago resident, was the second U.S. citizen to be killed in the West Bank in July. Earlier that month, Israeli settlers beat 20-year-old Saifullah Musallat to death in Sinjil, a town that neighbors Silwad. American citizens, bro. There you go. Brothers and sisters, that was it. If you want to watch the full podcast, it's in Tucker Carlson's YouTube channel. You can go check it out. Thank God the Christians are waking up to this reality. It's the beginning of the end of Zionism and their evil ways. And hopefully we will live to see the end. And for the far right, I challenge any one of you guys on this topic. Come. Leicester Square, Friday and Sunday. Come see me if you're a man. Intellectual war. Let's go. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.